Hello everyone, bonjour tout le monde. Welcome to EFA92 on this Tuesday, June 23rd. Today I want to talk about racism, prejudice, workplace discrimination, harassment policies, human rights, male chauvinism, women's right, the whole 9 yards, like the whole 9 yards. And I'm going to speak to you as a previous government employee. And I remember starting back in 1991. And I remember at that time taking courses like Edge Weapon Societies. And this course was about a lot of cultures that come to Canada at the time were raised in edge weapons, right? Like you don't converse, you don't communicate, you pull out a knife and you stab each other in the ass or whatever, right? And it was a lot of those kind of mindsets were coming into the country, and we were going through those courses. That was like 1991-ish. But I remember like all the WDHB courses, the human rights courses, all the different genders and sexualities and cultures and religions. And I mean like 30 years of training, like, and I've said this before, you don't know training until you're in government. In government, you're taking training like drinking water through a fire hose. You are taking training. But what happened over the years, it used to be training and orientations and sessions, and then it became part of the fabric of government, right? All these became mandatory training on everything. At the end, it didn't care. They didn't care if about your upbringing, your culture, your religion, or whatever. You're going to be submerged into this training, and you're going to take it. You're going to take it, and you have no choice. This is government. This is what we want you to do, right? So that said, with all these billions of dollars spent, and 40 years later, look where we are, right? Like we should be like Star Trek. We should be intermingling with intergalactical individuals, but we don't, right? Supposedly we don't, and we're so bad, and the white man and the white person and the white everything is so bad. Like we're all monsters, right? All monsters. And I laugh because it's all marketing. It's all marketing. There's massive amount of organization making massive amount of money on racism, on WDHP, on all that stuff, right? All that stuff. Like money is being made like you wouldn't believe. And I've said this for years. I've said it for people. Everything is tied to money. Everything. You follow the path. Everything is tied to money. And once you create the buildings, you create the positions, you create the departments, you create the structure, you create everything, man, they're going to make it grow bigger. And they don't go backwards. It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Hence why, and I say this to people in the where I live right now, our taxes is what is it? Nearly $7,000 a year. And I remember I'm on well, I'm on septic, pay my own septic, I pay my own well. We get sometimes snow plowing, and we get garbage pickup, right? And I'm paying nearly $7,000 a year. We had a property in Mexico at one time, and that was 300 US by the ocean. 300 US. Why? Because their overhead. Their overhead is, and I mean nice. I mean nice. I mean, I'm talking beautiful highways, beautiful malls, and I've used their hospitals, and I've used it with our family. Our family has used their stuff. We've used everything. The highways are nicer than here, right? From the area we were in, and I was paying $300 US a year for the entire taxation for the entire year for having a property by the ocean. And here we pay nearly $7,000 on our own well, on our own septic, sometimes snow plowing and garbage pickup. So, and I'm going to go back to what I was getting at. All this comes from cost, right? The reason why the comparison and price difference, why is it, and that's why you find so many Americans, so many Canadians, so many retiring in those countries, because their dollar is worth $1 and or worth at least 80 cents or at least 70 cents. Their dollar is not worth 30 cents. So that's why they move. That's why they liquidate everything and get the hell out, right? And I want to focus on the subject at hand here, which was the racism and etc. And the amount of money we spend in this country and all that. Hence why the higher taxes, the higher everything, right? The amount of money we have spent, we should be prejudice, racial discrimination, everything free. Right? Shouldn't we? If you spend $100 million on a house, that house should be perfect, correct? If you spend $100 million on anything, it should be perfect, correct? But it's not. Why? Because I really believe it's marketing. It's marketing, it's marketing, it's marketing. They love racism. They love all that stuff because once you create the departments, once you create the buildings, once you create the staff, once you create the positions, once you create the entire fabric and the integrity of that system doesn't go backwards. It's always forward. They always want to add and expand and grow. And then how do you do that, right? You go looking for things. You ever notice that how politicians, they can say like 1,000 words, and out of those 1,000 words, there could be 999 of those words that it'll cure cancer. Those words will discover a faster pathway to the moon, for example, but they don't care about that. They will hang on to that one word. They will slip up on one word, just, say something, a brain fart, but oh, did you see what she said? Did you see what he said? Right? They go after that. And those are the people that I heard the analogy the other day. They would debate with a bird on how to fly, right? Those are those people. They would debate with a bird on how to fly. And those same individuals that don't have any substance to go the distance on anything will be the first ones to hang on every word that anybody says and to make a big thing out of it, right? Well, those are the same individuals that blow up everything when it comes to race and culture and everything around it, because why? They make a lot of money, because everything is tied to money. You follow anything on this earth, and I don't care what it is, it's tied to money. A lot of everything is tied to money. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty here. I'm French, Jean-Guy Bourguignon, very French, Bourguignon, just like the cuisine, le bœuf bourguignon, l'escargot bourguignon, de Bourgogne. It's a French name from Bourgogne, but I'm very French. And I grew up, my mother was extremely French. My mother's English was hilarious to listen to, right? My peoples and my flags, and she had my gods. She had a lot of gods, my mother. But beautiful Quebecoise, I used to talk to her every single day. And growing up, I was very French. My father was Franco-Ontarian, and I grew up in a neighborhood. I would call it the hood today, and people around the world would probably look at that and say, "You call that the hood?" That is not the hood. But I look back, and the police. I'm talking like 20 cop cars in the parking lot. Like every other day, there was cops in my neighborhood. I have house raids. I remember this house raid, an entire gang just ripping through a house. I could hear the woman screaming, the children screaming, the doors wide open, all that stuff, right? I've witnessed a stabbing, beatings, and all that stuff. But let's just focus on me here. French, right? French frog. I was a French frog growing up. Those that don't know, I guess the French people in my area would call Englishmen tight collar, square heads, and then we would be called French frogs. I'm sure because of the frog legs or escargot, all that stuff, right? So I was called frog, but I used to get beaten up almost every other day, literally every other day. I remember one beating. Like I used to take the 6 mile tour to the Fox Bar. It was a store back on in my area, Bank and Fox Bar. The street was Fox Bar and Bank Street in Ottawa, and the store was called Fox Bar. Today it's a restaurant, I believe, still. But anyways, just to get to that store, which was a 10-minute walk, really, as a kid. I'd take the hour tour because so I wouldn't get jumped, right? I would get jumped because I was French. Like, literally, I was getting jumped when I was French. And then I still remember this one beating. I could still name the guys that used to jump us all the time. I could still see their faces. I have a great, vivid imagination. I could still see their face. And I remember this one time, we made it to my door, to the house, the front door. My door was locked, right? You live in a hood, you lock the doors. So yeah, that door was locked. And me and my buddy, another Frenchman, another French frog, we got to the door and it was locked. And we're side by side. And these English guys came in, and there were 6, 10 of them. It was a group of them, and here come the fifth. Right? They're all like they're drilling us in the back of the head, the face, the whole 9 yards. My buddy is screaming and crying, and a whole 9, and I'm getting all these punches. And then my door opened. It was my mother. These kids, these today you would call them punks, right? Like leaping over the fences and running in a whole 9 yards. And my friend is crying his eyes out. And I remember standing there, looking at my mother, going, "Ça pas fait mal. It didn't hurt." I remember these mosquito punches coming at me. I still remember these little tiny fists. They're hitting me everywhere, right? They're hitting me everywhere. but it didn't hurt. And I remember telling that to my mom first thing when she opened the door, freaking out and seeing these kids pounding us because we're French. And I remember looking at her going, "Ça pas fait mal." And my friend is crying his eyes out. And I still remember he's looking at me and my mom and he's bawling. And I'm going, "Ça pas fait mal." It didn't hurt. It literally didn't hurt. And so I'm going to flash forward this. And that was my youth, right? And then, of course, what do? You bring your entourage. You start hanging around with more French people. And I remember this as I was growing up, hanging around with the French people. Then I started intermingling with the different cultures. And maybe I am very open-minded with culture. I'm as liberal as a conservative you're going to get. I'm as liberal. I believe in lifestyle. I believe in culture. I don't care if you. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what rainbow part you are. I don't care. It doesn't. I don't need a sign over your head. I don't need you to tell me who you are and that kind of stuff, et cetera, et cetera. If you want to participate and share good educational information with anyone, absolutely, please. It's our duty to teach. But I don't care if you love men, you love women, you love cross-dressing, you love hopscotching in your bra and panties. If you're a man, I don't care, right? And we live in a world now that everybody needs a sign. So I'm going to go back to being the French guy here, getting pounded all the time. And as I grew up and I intermingle in my entourage and in my English friends and then my multicultural friends and et cetera, right? You learn to blend in. You learn to assimilate, like Star Trek, right? Like Star Trek, where you see all the intergalactical individuals intermingling and getting along, right? You figure that out. And that's what I did. And then I got into the Ontario government back in 1991. January 21st, 1991 is when I joined government. And that's when I joined the Ontario Corrections. And I went to the Rideau Correctional and Treatment Center. Fantastic facility. Rideau Correctional and Treatment and Assessment Unit. They had an assessment unit, a treatment center, a correctional center. We had farms. We had programs like sheet metal, like brick and stone, like carpentry. I can keep going on in here. Inmates, right? The inmates would leave with tickets. They would have a trade behind them. And we had the treatment program, the assessment unit, and the farm program and the trades program. A lot of those programs that we had, the individual, and I said this before in previous CFAs, would come back 30% less recidivism, proven. Like there was numbers at the time, and I don't want to get into that part of it, but I'm going to do another podcast on that. But those that went through a treatment program, the full program, or the full trades program, or a full farm program, those that left with something in their hands saying we did this many hours in the 2 years, that kind of stuff, 30% of them never came back. Makes sense, right? Teach someone how to fish. Remember that old saying? Teach someone how to fish, right? Instead of giving them the fish, just teach them how to fish. And that's what those programs did. They heighten a focus on why are you an inmate, right? And I've always said that not all inmates are criminals. Not all inmates are criminals. And why are you an inmate? And those individuals that were given trades, that were focused on why you're here, 30% of them never came back. That facility, fantastic facility I'm talking about, life-changing facility for myself. That's where I met my beautiful wife. And I always tell people we met in jail. It changes the conversation. Oh, where'd you guys meet? In jail. Oh, it's beautiful outside, isn't it? Right? So it's a funny conversation to start. But that institution that I love so much, I have so much respect for, when I first started there, the amount of French jokes that I still remember this one individual. I won't mention names here. He was another French individual, and he was very franco-ontarien, like proud of the French culture. And I thought I was part of the FLQ or something when I first started there. It was crazy, the amount of French jokes. And what did I learn to do? I learned to intermingle because they weren't bad souls. There was one individual, and he's passed away now. His name was Roy Shaddock. Love that man. Absolutely love that man. I love that man. He was a funny guy. He was great, and the amount of French jokes that came out of him and his entourage. There's a log book in EN. E is in electric. In EN, there was a log book, and it still says "frog to other duties." We used to relieve each other, give each other breaks. If we go like Jean-Guy to other duties, for example, it was in that log book. If they still have that log book, it still says "frog to other duties," right? To O/D. And it was a big joke. But that was my world when I first started, 1991, the amount of French jokes. Some of those jokes, might have heard them 6 trillion times, and you would tell the guys, could you change the cassette? I've already heard that one, right? Like, literally, please, could you expand to your playbook, page 595? I've heard that one 594 times. So my point to that is I learned to intermingle. I learned to adjust and adapt and overcome. And beautiful souls, and that was their upbringing. That's what they knew, right? That I was in a very anglophone area of the Ontario government at the time, a very country upbringing, integral parts of societies, very integral parts of society, individuals, beautiful souls. And I made a lot of great friends over the years, still stay interconnected. And the ones that would call me French frogs and all that, and I've called people Ted Cody. I've been with groups of black individuals, and the cracker jokes that would come out of their mouth, but that's okay, right? And that's okay. And those that are like me, interminded, like-minded, the whole 9 yards, we laugh it off, we shake it off, we have fun with each other, we have fun amongst ourselves, we will say things to each other, we're not offended by each other, we're not offended. Maybe it's because I came from the hood. Maybe it's because of the upbringing. Maybe it's because I learned how to take my lickings. Maybe it's because I wasn't fed with a silver shovel down my throat. Maybe it's because I wasn't born and raised in a world of privilege. Maybe it's because I'm not taught that racism is a monster everywhere, or WDP, or everything is a monster everywhere. Maybe I was my father, like I tell my daughters, a punishment when we were kids was being grounded. Grounded meant you're not going outside. We used to lose our freaking minds not being able to go outside. Going outside, and like a fish in a fishbowl, I would look out the window and see my friends interacting, playing sports, having fun, playing tags, like whatever, like hide and seeks, frisbees, the whole 9 yards. And I used to watch them through the window, and they used to eat at me not being able to go out there and join the crowd, right? Join the entourage, join the friends. And today, you ground somebody, okay, man, they got 6 screens in your faces. They're becoming fat. They're becoming completely disconnected, and they see everybody as a monster. Everybody white is not good, and everybody that doesn't want to earn, and that wants to lay back, and that wants to lay on a couch all day and want to receive everything, they're heroes now. They're the heroes. They're the ones and I'm not even talking colors here. I'm not even talking cultures. Some of the most driven individual souls that I've met in my life weren't white, right? Some of the most successful individuals that I know in my lifetime aren't white. They aren't. Some of the richest individuals that I know aren't white. And two, what do you define as white, right? Really, what the hell is white and what the hell is black? Because I don't know any black person that really has probably perfectly matching skins, and I don't know any white people that have perfectly matching skin. We all have different shades of everything. Like, put all the white people together on earth, put all the brown people together on earth, all the orange people together on earth, all the yellow people together on earth, all the brown people together on earth, all the black people. I keep going on here. We all have different shades. We all have different, like even within the cultures, I'm different than the most French people. Right? I'm different than most English people that are white. I'm different than most white people that are white, right? I'm different, right? But I intermingle, I associate. When in Rome, you adapt and overcome, and you don't raise each other to look at each other as if we're different. And that's what you've done. That 30 years of all this training and hundreds of millions of dollars and et cetera, what you've done is fuel the fire. Those hundreds of millions of dollars of government dollars spent and this last 30 years around the world, I'm going to say billions, I'm going to say trillions maybe. Around the world, I'm going to say trillions. Trillions, when you look at all the developed democratic societies in the last 30 years, probably trillions of dollars have been spent on all this everything out there to associate the difference, to pigeonhole everybody. Everybody's got their own little box now, right? Everybody's holding on to their little boxes, right? Their little pride and joy. They open it up. This is my box. This is my box. And this is what you, the governance of the world, has created. You have created the biggest monster out there instead of teaching people on how to get up in the morning and earn for themselves. Instead of teaching people to associate, to intermingle, to intertwine, to not have boxes, to not see each other as different shades of anything, to learn each other's culture, to learn each other's languages, to learn each other's everything, right? You people tell me, like, are you Italian? Are you Lebanese? Like, are you French? Are you whatever? Why? Because I intermingle. I've always have. And like I went in Rome, me and my wife, we've been to the ghettos with my daughters. I've been to places where my spider senses were tingling. Like, I mean, I was like, what the hell did I just do to bring my wife and daughters here? But we went in there because we went into orphanages. We went in there because we went to the poor. We stopped on side of roads where people were completely barefooted in these wooden shacks. And we opened our trunk and had all these pre-made bags. And I mean, fast drop-offs. Go in, bada boom, bada bing. And I'm like, it's like, go, go, go. Like recon missions with my wife and daughters, like get in the dark and the drive, right? But we did that. Beautiful families, beautiful souls. But we were the white people, right? And I didn't want me, my wife, and daughters to be caught in a situation because we were white, simply because we were white. But we still go to those areas. We still go, and I mean, around the world, and I could do a whole podcast on that. Every year, we take our daughters somewhere that they do some form of something for someone, right? Some form of something for someone, or get them really deep into nature, right? We want you to understand what you have on this earth and what you've earned and how to earn it and how to achieve it, and to be very fortunate to what you have and where you were born to and where you were born, right? You can take the exact same birth and just switch it, right? Give it to this religion, give it to this culture, give it to this part of the geographical part of the world, give it to whatever. That same child, same brain, same eyes, same mind, same soul, same heart, same lungs, same everything, is going to be completely different. Whether you take it from these parents, give it to these parents in religion, take it from these parents, give it to these parents in culture, give it to these parents in geographical area. That exact same child would be three different human beings 20 years down the road, completely separate and apart from each other. They will have the identical DNA, they will have the identical everything inside, but they will think differently, and they will process differently, and they will behave differently, a lot differently than what they are. They're going to use the same DNA that they have, heart, mind, and soul, and moving forward with their brain matter, etc., but they're going to apply it differently because of their upbringing, surrounding, and foundation. And you need to stop teaching people to be separate and apart from each other.